the leaders of the new school. We rip that new cool. We breaking chains on these bulls. We got some new rules. Live holy, praise God, Jesus, music, go.
Hey everyone, my name is George Originalis, aka Vapor, and you are listening to Radial Faith, Episode 8. Today's guest is Houston-based hip-hop artist One God. The song you're listening to right now is his song entitled Leaders of the New School, featuring IamJustified. Apart from being a hip-hop artist, One God is also a principal at a middle school, so you know this conversation is going to be good. Without further delay, this is my conversation with One God. All right, so we have on the line right now Damon McLemore, also known as One God, on the stage. So let's start out with that. I'm always interested to know why artists pick their stage names. Why did you choose One God?
Wow. Yeah. So let's you gotta kind of rewind before I started rapping. I was a DJ.
Okay.
And I was a DJ One God, and that's because I wanted to be like the god of the DJs, right? So I figured, you the god of the DJs, you run everything. And so when I stopped, when I kind of got saved, this is before I got saved.
All right.
I was still, one God. I was the God of the DJs. I was dabbling with, knowing about Jesus and Christ, but because I still had a friend named Malcolm Marshall who was a pastor, and he was kind of ministering to me, and being discipling me. And then as I transitioned to being saved, I stopped DJing because I used to be his DJ as well. And I stopped being a DJ, and I just kept One God, because when I started rapping, people kept hearing DJ One God. They would try to book me just to DJ, and I'm like, nah, I'm not DJ anymore. I'm really the rapper now.
Okay.
So I just took out the DJ part and kept One God. And, then it kind of, instead of being the God, it started symbolizing who I wanted people to see when they saw me. Like, I didn't want them to see, like you go by Vapor. So I didn't want them to see Vapor. I just want them to see God. So I just said One God. And that's how, when people say my name, they really just give them praise to God.
That's nice.
That's how it came about.
That's
cool.
That's how it came about. That's cool. I didn't know that that was your, like you said, that was your stage name as far as DJ prior to you coming to faith. But that's cool how you kept it, and it just has a different meaning now. That's awesome.
Right.
And it's cool too, because you can use your name alone as you just did, a testament of how God changed your life, and how things back then now have different meaning now. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you talked to me before about your testimony as far as transition. You mentioned your friend who discipled you. What was that like, that time of being lost and away from Christ and now being found and living for Christ? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, growing up, I didn't grow up going to church or knowing too much about, God, but I felt like the whole time, God, I see people in church, and I was like, man, it seemed like they live better lives, or they was comfortable with their lives. That's what it just felt like to me. And getting older and still not knowing God, I still felt like God protected me, even with the people He was sending in my life. It was always somebody around me that wasn't just, let me do what I needed, let me just be wild. It was somebody to say, hey, nah, you're doing too much. Nah, we need to stop doing that. And, so even though I wasn't claiming Jesus, I feel like He still had a tug on my life my whole life. Mm-hmm. Out of all my friends, I'm the only one who actually went off to college. I'm the only one who actually graduated, so he's been around me, seemed like, with different people my whole life. And then when, Malcolm Marshall was my frat brother. And when I met him, he was like, he was killing in the gospel. He's a gospel rapper for real. Like, he was doing his thing, but he never, came at me like that. He was like, man, I need a studio. And he'd come record at my house.
Nice.
And then while he was recording in my house, he would just, we walking through scripture. We just, he telling me, hey man, what am I reading? What am I diving into today? And he would give me stuff to read. He'd drop off books. He's like, man, I need you to read this and stuff like that. He just kept pouring into me, so finally it just took root. And, then I became, he walked me through, the Romans path and how to become saved and how to be a better Christian and how to be a Christian. And man, that was like the best thing I've done, because I was always rapping. I was secular before I was gospel, and I was getting shows, and I was feeling like I was gonna be the next. But then like when I met him, or when I kind of believed in Jesus, it just changed my whole mindset of what type of music I wanted to do.
That's awesome.
So that's how I felt like being lost, and then still not really being lost, because I feel like Jesus always had somebody around me, but I didn't know Jesus for the pardon of my sins until I walked with him.
That's awesome. Your testament about your friend Malcolm, how he didn't come like just slinging the Bible at you, trying to knock you over the head with some gospel, but he came at you first like as a friend, and then came alongside you, and he wasn't just trying to knock you over the head with it. And I think that approach of knocking people over the head with the gospel definitely doesn't work, and it's befriending someone, like you said, building that relationship, coming alongside them.
Right.
And that's so good. So you mentioned you going off to college, which I want to touch on in a little while. But I know one of your most recent projects for the gospel rap is called Leaders of the New School. Can you talk a little bit about that project, what your aspirations for that project was or is, and just how that came about?
Oh, okay. All right. That's good. The Leaders of the New School, if you know anything about, the first song was with Justified. You know Justified, right?
I think I've met him before, yeah.
He kind of he's doing a lot of stuff now. So me and Justified worked together, and we was going to put together a group, and we needed a name for the group. And then I'm an old school hip hop fan, so Leaders of the New School, but you got to think that was with Busta Rhymes, and they really didn't represent the kingdom. Mm-hmm. So I was like, hey man, we ought to be the Leaders of the New School. Because we need a new, we were both teachers.
Yeah.
So we, as a teachers, we was like, man, we need to get the kids something that's more honoring and purposeful for their lives instead of the stuff that they're listening to now. So we came up with the joint Leaders of the New School. We were actually going to be called New Cool, but then the group New Cool came out at the same time we was doing that.
Yeah.
So we kind of had to switch it up. So that if you listen to that title, it says, live holy, we the Leaders of the New School, we rep that New Cool. So when New Cool, the group came out, we switched it all up and just kept Leaders of the New School. But in the process, Justified kind of started, he was always a solo artist, and he kind of, started getting a little bit more gigs and engagements, and he was, I'm a slow guy, I walk through my process, but he was, he's a younger guy, so he kind of liked to, people were calling him to book him for shows, and I was like, let's walk through this, I don't want to just put you out there and you don't have enough scripture in you if somebody asks you to pray, because that's how Malcolm did me. He just didn't let me start rapping, he kind of walked me through the process. So once Justified started doing his thing, and he started doing more and more shows, he became real big. It's kind of like our project got pushed to the side.
Okay.
So I had to finish it. And so since I wanted to finish it, in this process, I met an Educator, and I got on the IamJustified label during this process as well. So I wanted to finish it. So I just wanted to make it a group, a collaboration album, more like a collab album with everybody that was doing gospel rap in Houston. So I just reached out to everybody. Everybody threw me tracks and, songs, and I just put it together. That's how we became the Leaders of the New School. So it was supposed to be a gospel album for Houston.
That's cool. Much. So it's like you said, it's a collaboration of all the Houston
like a compilation.
That's pretty cool. And I think it's interesting how you said that, Malcolm was your mentor and he was discipling you, and then transition. Now you're shifting toward more of the mentor stage with Justified and helping him through. And that's one thing I see you and Educator and all the I Am Gospel crew doing, is that y'all have y'all's time of being mentored by people and being discipled, and now y'all are coming through with the younger generation of believers, as well as the younger generation of gospel rappers, and mentoring them through that process.
Right.
So I guess in some sense it's like y'all are the new school, and now there's the newer school coming through.
Correct.
Y'all are mentoring them through. That's cool. So just recently you released your new single, Tokyo. and I saw the music video for that. Can you talk a little bit about the song Tokyo, why you went ahead with that project, and how is it going?
So that's gonna be off the new project called Murder.
Okay.
And Tokyo, man, we got the track and it had the little, the Japanese sounding guitar in it, and the hook. We kind of got together, and I came up with the hook, and then we dropped the verses. But it's one of those fun songs off the Murder album. The Murder album, I think, is really weighty. It's really heavy. Really, I went somewhere with this one. I took my time on it, and it's a weighty album. So it's gonna be, Jesus everything. And so the Tokyo joint was kind of like a single just to have some fun with. But we still give you that, no matter where people are at, I don't care what area in the world, everybody needs Jesus, even in Tokyo.
Yeah.
And so that's what we came up with. You see, we went to the Japanese mall and shot that. It was real good, real cool.
That's cool. It's a good music video. Anyone interested in looking at it, you can go to YouTube and type in Tokyo and One God or I Am Gospel. It'll pop up, one of the first ones on the list.
Yeah.
So earlier you mentioned that, so you got this project, Leaders of the New School, and then talking about that, you mentioned how you and Justified were educators, and I'm assuming that's what you went to college for education.
Nah, I went to school for well, kinda. I went to school. My major was political science. I wanted to be a government teacher.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to always be a government teacher, or teach people about government. Some type of my minor was journalism, so I wanted to write I wanted to be an editor and write government articles and stuff like that.
Okay.
But but as I graduated, it kind of shifted.
Can you talk about that shift? Because I know, like, when we first met, I found out, which was cool, that you were a teacher, which I
right.
thought was, that's such a great place to be as far as planting seeds into the mind of the next generation. Of course, you can't come at it so straightforward, like, hey, I want to teach you the gospel, because you're in academic realm, but
right.
you can influence them in a very positive way. So
right.
Can you talk a little bit about that, being a gospel rapper, being a Christian, and how you can exemplify your faith in that area of education without being able to actually come out and say in the classroom, "Hey, I'm a Christian. I want to talk to you about the Bible."
Yeah, and it depends on the campus you're at, and it depends on your year.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a perfect setup. For me, it was a perfect setup. So I don't have to do 50 shows. But I can minister to my classroom and my kids. I worked in the hood, so I can minister to them every day. And I didn't have to post it, to say, hey, look what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because actually, I might have people like, well, who was your Timothy? I might have 30 Timothys.
Mm.
Because I get to pour into the people. I got to pour into my kids every day. And it didn't have to be, I didn't really have to sugarcoat it, because I felt like this is what God wanted me. And, I felt like I needed to say what needed to be said for a lot of people, a lot of kids. I taught with kids stay with their grandparents and they didn't eat at night.
Wow.
They last meal was probably lunch.
Wow.
And when they got home, some noodles. And that was about it. I taught, those type of kids. So I knew they needed Jesus to help them understand it. I got to give it to them. Like I said, we didn't walk through scriptures, but we had times when we prayed. We had times when I talked about how Jesus influenced me. I gave them times where, we talked about Christmas and, what Jesus really did. What does he really mean? And I hadn't got caught in office yet. So, I hadn't, I feel like God has watched over me because I've crossed those lines. I know I have. But it's still what they needed. It's what the kids that I taught needed at that time.
Yeah.
And so that's what I give them, man. If somebody had a problem with it, I've never heard it. But, we start as an educator, you got to do what's right for kids. And if that's what's right for kids, then, hey, you can't even teach until you get kids' head right first. If their head not right, what you teaching ain't going to matter because they don't care.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
That's good. Like you said, seeing you're there as an educator, but being a Christian, you see beyond the academics, and like you said, first they need to get their head and their heart right, and then you can start with the academics. Academics are important, but at the end of the day, when we stand before the King,
Right.
he's not going to ask us what's 2 + 2. He's gonna
At all.
Yeah, he's gonna ask us, what do you think about my son Jesus? That's good. So I found out this weekend that you went through another transition recently. You're no longer an educator, but you're above those, leading the educators, leading the teachers.
Right,
Can you
right.
talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so as a teacher, and man, I love teaching. I could teach because you get to wrap up with kids and you get to give them what they need at that point. And like when kids say that you genuinely love them, man, you don't really have an issue unless somebody just needs it. But as a transition, as the more I talk, people was like, yeah, Macklemore, you affect your kids, but if as a principal, you can affect everybody's kids. And I never thought of it like that. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, he said, you might see 60 kids, but what about seeing 900 kids? And I was like, wow, that makes sense. So, I went back to school, made that transition. It took me a while because I had a kid along the way.
Okay.
And, what's meant for you is meant for you. I really believe that now because, it didn't take me a long. When I finished my degree, I had a principal job within a year.
Oh, wow.
I went on 2 interviews. And I got the second one.
Nice.
And so what's meant, like I said, what's meant for you is you. And then I went to middle school, so I get to affect kids, even more kids, and giving them the gospel, giving them Jesus. And then instead of seeing just my classroom, I get to see a whole school now. And it's still the same concept. It doesn't change, even though they're older, man, you'll see a lot of kids still need Jesus, and it is what it is. But I was just wondering, I would just think about that, man, if somebody was giving me this at my age, you know how much forward I would be. So I try to give them what people don't give them at that age.
That's
but
awesome.
The transition is good. Yeah, the transition was good. It was, it was what was needed, and God made it happen. Like it was an easy transition, really.
That's good stuff. You mentioned that as a teacher, you have a classroom and you're able to minister to those kids in that class and the way with that 20 to 30 group of kids. But now as the principal, you have that's multiplied. You have anywhere from 800 to 900 students. So with that in mind, what have you seen as far as the challenges that the students face at your school, or maybe in general, being from your perspective as a principal, what challenges do you see the students facing now where you're at? And then flip that on the other side, what challenges have you faced and opportunities have you had in your position now?
The biggest challenges kids face nowadays that kind of deters them from being what people or what God wants them to be is the social aspect of it now. Like we have so much negative social stuff going on TV. Like if you look at Love and Hip Hop, that's negative. If you look at anything reality, it's negative. The social media beefs are negative. Anything can happen to anybody, and we don't talk to that person directly. We go straight to social media. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people really believe that this is how you should live your life. And a lot of kids are influenced, even the smart kids, even the smart kids have some type of, vice when it comes to social media. And it's terrible. Somebody's walking in my house. And it's terrible, and it's terrible because that's become the norm. Social media has become the norm. So you live your life through Snapchat, and even I went to see a comedy show last night. Everybody wants to Instagram, and I find myself falling into those same traps because I know, hey, as an artist, I need to promote. But at the same time, I don't agree with some of the platforms that we use to promote, but that is what it is.
I gotcha.
So we have to use those platforms because that's what's out there.
Gotcha.
But at the same time, those platforms are also a downfall for certain people. So how do we kind of combat that? That's the issue with me. But the challenges at school, as far as the kids, is that's their biggest challenge in social media. As far as being a principal, is the confinements of what we at the end of the day we have to have test scores. Period.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, your job is kept based on how well your test scores. So now you have the balance, feeding into kids, plus having great test scores.
Mm.
And then teachers to buy into your program. It can all happen. So it's all like it's like a machine. It's like the body. It all has to work together for it to work properly. And you have to learn how to balance your time, and because I still work on the album. I had to come home after being at duty all day. Middle school we have basketball, we have sports, so we have to balance all that and still be effective parent and blah blah blah, all that. So that's a challenge, but I believe people don't put nothing on you more than you can bear, so you just step up to the challenge.
That's good
I
stuff.
hope that answered it.
No, yeah, that did. I mean, the students now are definitely facing a different, just different culture, as you mentioned, with social media. When I was in high school, YouTube, I think, had just barely come out. Facebook was barely talked about, and now, I mean, you got Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Snapchat, and so many other social media apps out there. And like you said, it's a part of life. We're not going to escape it unless you go live out in the woods somewhere.
Right.
But like you were kind of saying, that it's part of life, but you can get so trapped into this like synthetic reality that looking at other people's stuff on Instagram with all those filters, like, hey, that's not real life. That's just them.
Right.
That's them filtering their real life. So it is definitely a very interesting time for the younger generation, and I can't imagine what it's like helping them see that on a daily basis, and then just how that's influencing them on a daily basis, being so exposed to it. With
yeah.
So
it's got to be not to cut you off, but it's got to be rough.
Yeah.
Like kids know the rules. There's no cell phones, but we still take up cell phones every day.
Yeah.
So it just shows you how dependent everybody, is on some type of social media platform, or cell phone platform. It's amazing if you think about it. Like I said, growing up, we didn't have cell phones in school. So I wonder how it is even as college professors. How do they teach? And they got cell phones growing off in the class and stuff like that. People texting in the class. It's amazing. But yeah.
That's good stuff. And you mentioned too how you as an artist, you realize the somewhat the need to be on those different social platforms so that you can have your artistic work put out there, because that's where people are paying attention. That's where they're giving attention. So you have to be there where they're at to reach them. But
right.
But so easily it can become, I guess, superficial to where you're not really building that relationship with them.
Right.
I mean, because you have the gospel message through your song, and they're on Facebook. They listen to Tokyo, and then right after that they swipe up, and it's a picture of a cat or whatever, and they forgot what they just heard from the gospel message. So there's that, combating that whole thing right there.
Yeah,
it's good. It's good stuff. It's definitely exciting times as far as we are able to reach so many people in so many different ways that just a few years ago we weren't able to do it.
Right.
With the gospel message, with music, but it comes with a totally different challenge now, because everyone's attention is split in so many different ways, and just how to bring purpose and meaning into people's life through that.
Yeah. It's crazy, yeah. If you think about it, it's crazy. Even I was telling, we was talking, the educator was talking, I said, man, growing up, and this show you how, like you just said, the attention span is shorter now. And you see this because if you remember growing up, every song you had 3 verses.
Yeah.
But now, you notice every song now has only 2 verses.
That's true.
Yeah, but it just shows you the dumbed down effect. The attention span is getting shorter, so we can't keep doing 3-verse songs. Because, like I said, I scroll up, I'm looking at a cat. I just was looking into Tokyo, but I've already forgot all that because because right after that is a cat, and that's my attention span is so short.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between kids now and back then, which is another challenge. We're dumbing it down so much that it's becoming shorter and shorter. Then you got certain songs out here with 2 hooks, 3 hooks, and 8 bar rap. That's it. But how do we fix that issue? How do we combat it? That's just, especially as a Christian artist, that's the struggle. Cause I hate doing superficial posts. I really do. I hate, I want to do Facebook Live, but I don't. It just seems so corny to me at this point now.
I got you.
But I understand the need for it, though.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to make sure that whatever content you are putting out there is bringing value to somebody. It's not just for the sake of attention. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. And it's crazy because when I'm on the same boat. If I put something out there, I want to make sure it's going to bring value to someone. If it's going to make them smile or whatever.
Right.
But then hey, if I only put something out there once a week or once a month, then I get so low down on the news feed that when I do put something out of value, no one's going to see it.
Yes.
So it's a crazy, like you talked about balancing, not only just in regular life, if we can call it that, of family, work, and ministry, but now we have to balance, okay, how do I get this stuff out there? It is the whole trying to contextualize the message of the gospel has really changed, especially with social media. It's good stuff that you brought that up. That's good.
Correct. And honestly, to be effective, I believe sometimes, honestly, you have to post almost every day.
Yeah.
But who has time to post every day? And then, as you said, as the gospel, if I'm just posting, when does it become really not about me? I mean, it's really about me posting, and not really about posting anything worth people looking at.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to be effective, sometimes you really have to post every day. You have to say something to people every day. Because I study people who get a lot of likes and followers, and they're posting or doing something, Instagram something. They're doing it every day, though. I'm like, who has time for that? And then it's not really meaningful. They're just posting it, though, where people are following it.
Yep.
But that's the dilemma.
Yeah, that's
the price of the car.
Yeah. For me, like I said, I try to bring value in everything I do, even if it's just something funny. I share something that my kid did, make people laugh or whatever. Then what I try to do is I try to twist it as far as, okay, here's something I had an experience with my son today, and hey, sometimes we do this, and this is how God looks at us, or we look at God. So try to bring some value in that way. But then I think I post it, and I'm thinking, man, they're gonna read this, they might be touched. God might speak to them through this, but you know what? They're going to swipe up and there's going to be a cat video and they're going to forget about it. So it's like, is it really even worth it to go on Facebook, Instagram, wherever I'm at? Because I know I'll have their attention for that little bit, that 5 seconds or 30 seconds, whatever it may be. But are they even going to remember that by the end of the day? Is it really going to have an impact? Because social media is designed for just a few seconds of entertainment or whatever it may be. I mean, it's one of those things. God can use anything that we put out there as far as for the glory of His name, but it's so crazy. It's definitely a different game now.
Yeah.
So on that, what let's end on a few words of encouragement from you as far as people that are out there that maybe they're trying to get into the gospel rap game, or just in general, Christians out there, how to exemplify your faith in the place God has called you. You have the arena of rapping as well as being in the education forum. But what words of encouragement would you give to our other brothers and sisters out there?
Man, make sure here's what I encourage myself. Once you're called to do this, or once you're not even called to do this, once you feel like you made up your mind, this is what you want to do, stick to it. Don't look for 20 awards, or don't look for people to pat you on the back. People are gonna be people. Know why you're really doing this. Have a regular job, because if you're trying to do this to make money or live off of, it'll always, not to say that it's not possible, but it'll always sometimes not go the way you want it. And then you be like, well, God, you called me to do this, And it's not about that. It's about, being faithful over the gift that He has given you, and He'll provide. I tell people all the time, I can give away all my CDs if I want to. You know, that's how much I believe God is taking care of my ministry, because I don't live to, you know, I don't look to live off this. I want this to be a gift for people. If I get paid for a CD, praise God. If I don't, praise God. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, you know, it's like, you know, we did what Riley's church this weekend. We had like 10 people.
Yeah, about.
But I still feel comfortable doing those 10 because I know those 10 may have got something out of it. Even if they got, you know, how many kids asked me, are you really a principal? So maybe they got the fact that a principal can actually be a rapping gospel principal.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And maybe that's what I needed to do. It might not have been anything I said, but they were like, oh, a principal is still a gospel rapper and still believe in God. That's good enough for me. So, you know, but if I'm discouraged, if I'm trying to look, oh man, you know, we ain't going unless we booking 20 million at the, you know, unless we got 10,000 in the audience, we not going. You know, it's a wave. You know, you've been there. You was with Walker. You know, y'all had 800 crowds, and then y'all had 30 people in the crowd.
Yeah.
And it goes, and that's gospel rap. But a lot of people get discouraged because they're not in this for the right reason. So they can't understand a 10 people show. Oh man, why am I really doing this? Why am I really doing this? Man, you might have helped one person that was at that place. You just never know.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So my encouragement is just, you know, once you start the gospel rap, stick to it, and just be real about what your intentions are. Don't start saying, well, I never said I was a gospel rapper. I'm a Christian who rap. You know, just be what God wants you to be, and I think after you do that, everything else falls in line. You know, you're not gonna be perfect, but as long as you do what God says do, and keep him. What it says, if you lift up me, I'll add all things, and that's what I do. I lift him up. I let him do the adding. That's what he said do, and that's what I do.
That's good stuff. Yeah, being faithful to the work God has called you to do, and let him taking care of the multiplication and how he's going to use it. That's good. So, what's a way people can check out your stuff? Where can they go online to hear your songs and the tracks?
Yeah, I'm at IamGospel.us. I'm there. I'm on all platforms, Spotify, iTunes. They can get it there. Facebook is Damon McLemore. Instagram is onegod.com. And I'm done with social media. I got a Twitter, but I don't use it. But yeah, anywhere you can, if you want to email me, you can email me onegod.entertainment. I'll send it out to you at onegod.entertainment@gmail. So I'm there at those places I'm at. You know, if you want to Google me, I'll come up.
Cool. And that's one God, one, the number one, and then God.
Right. Cool. And I still got stuff at DJ One God. If you put DJ One God, I might pop up too still.
Okay. Cool.
So I'm still a DJ.
Cool. Check out the old school stuff with the new school stuff. Nice.
Yeah. Nice. Still out there.
Well, man, this has really been good. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Can I say we look forward to talking to you again about upcoming projects? Yes, sir. I got Murder coming out not too far. It's done. It's ready to go. I got one more video to shoot, and then we're gonna drop the album. Awesome. We'll see if we can do an interview before you drop that. That way we can get that out there for you. Cool. Appreciate it, George. All right, man. We appreciate it. Look forward to hearing from you again. Thank you. Already. Later. One of the main reasons I wanted to start doing this podcast was to hear from Christians in different fields. And we're hearing, or you just heard, from someone who is a hip-hop artist as well as a principal in a middle school. And just hearing how he's able to use both of those means of ministry to reach the youth is awesome. We took some time talking about the negative aspects of social media, but at the end of the day, it's here, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon, if at all. So we just have to accept it and do our best to be a light there in social media. Make sure our content is glorifying God, and when we can, use it to spread the gospel. It's always awesome to talk to One God and the whole crew at I Am Gospel. The next two artists we have coming up on Radio Faith are part of the I Am Gospel crew. Episode 9 will feature Jay Speaks, the poet, and episode 10 will feature the founder of I Am Gospel, Educator. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you have heard Educator's name more than once. So be sure to subscribe so you can hear more great content like this episode. I thank you so much for listening to Radio Faith. I hope that this episode has been a blessing to you.
None. Dirt off my shoulders, no, I'm not done. I'm back at it, and it only took one. Shining in my life, that's why I call him the sun. No, I won't